let's just play the whole song and I will get into it afterwards. I want to mute myself, and here we go.
And the sun is going down, sinking to the ground. Don't you get that feeling? Yeah, like you gotta get away.
And there you have it, Runaways, featuring Bonnie McKee. Yeah, this one took a long time to get the track right, like years. I'm not even kidding you. We started this song. We met for the first time in a little studio somewhere near, oh god, near Chinatown or somewhere in LA. I always forget the area. And it's a little studio, great little spot, and that's where we recorded most of the vocals for the record. Little shout out, it's called the Honeymoon Suite, little studio in LA. Great guys. And yeah, and Bonnie came out, and we've been a fan of Bonnie's for years. Tyler used to be signed to Pulse Publishing, that she is also signed to, and they worked out of the kind of same studio and like what the same kind of complex. So he would bump into her, 10 years ago, and whereas I became familiar with her when if anyone does anyone not know Bonnie McKee? Because I feel like she needs a preface, like she needs an introduction. You need to recognize the Queen. Bonnie McKee, I first heard her writing on Katy Perry's Teenage Dream. So go Google Bonnie McKee. She's literally written like all the big hits on Teenage Dream. California Girls was her first hit. Teenage Dream, Last Friday Night, blah, 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 blah. The list goes on. Dynamite, Tire Cruise. I mean, most of Katy Perry's like hits for the first few years. I don't know if they still write together. I think Katy Perry's gone on a whole new journey now, but with different sounds and stuff. But that was like, she came out of that, and then she's just done, I mean, her discography is endless, and she's done so many hits. Worked a lot with Max Martin and Dr. Luke and those guys. And so she is, her writing always spoke to me. When I heard Teenage Dream, it moved me, truly. And so I'd been a fan of hers, I had known of her since, 2010. And just, it was one of those things that a friend of ours started managing her, or kind of co-managing her, and it was like sort of opened the door for that. And this is like 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. So it was like, hey, Bonnie might be down. She had followed our Instagram for years, actually. I was like, oh, Bonnie McKee follows us. This is like back in 2018 or something like that. And I remember being at a label party, at a Christmas party for our own label, Ninja Tune, in LA. This would have been like 2019. And she was there, and I had to go up and just go, hey, I'm a huge fan and love her writing. And I kind of didn't want to outstay my welcome. So I just went right up and was like, hi, I have a band named The Midnight, and we're big fans, and I love your writing, and I just wanted to say hi, goodbye. And then I left again. She was like, who the fuck was this? So that's how it goes sometimes. But I didn't want to be that guy who's like, oh my God, but just had to pay my dues, or not pay my dues. Pay my respects, give her the props. So it all kind of came together in a funny way. And so this started in the fall of 2023. And we had a session, we wrote this song. And I know Bonnie tinkered with it a little bit after that, but pretty much the blueprint was there. I then just spent I was, the kind of journey to go through this whole album was really, for me, kind of rediscovering, I guess, my own like passion for making synthwave and making, doing the Midnight. And I think it kind of came full circle. And by the time I did Runaways, I was like, when I finally cracked the code and went, oh, I've got to stop getting my head out of my ass and trying to reinvent the wheel and trying to reinvent the sound and trying to do something new and always do something different. I just got to let this song dictate the vibe. And I tried all kinds of stuff with like Halftime, and wonder if it's still there, actually. That's a good, let me try something here. Runaways. Maybe we have some like old ass. Let me just quickly listen to what I have here because it might be really bad, but I don't think this will come through. But and that was still pretty similar. Oh my god! So I even had AU5 take a stab at it, and he did something super dope. But it was kind of all right. It was funny because it wasn't what he did, but it kind of allowed me to go, oh yeah, I need to just allow it to be what it is. But this track, I'll pull this in here just for funsies. This was where I was kind of wanting it to be a little bit more like progressive housey. I feel like there's another one that's like really low, like halftime. Find this. Oh my god, this is so bad, guys. This is how it goes. All right, so let's close this. All right, so this was my first go around. I think I had a few other versions, but this was like, I was like, no, it's got to be halftime. The drop is halftime. I don't even remember how this starts, but it may be like the trancey vibe. I don't know. See. Yeah, I was messing around with like rave inspirations. I wanted to turn it into like a rave thing, and obviously the tempo's not right. But let's play it here. So it's a vibe.
When the sun is going down, sinking to the ground, don't you get that feeling?
So there's something there. Like I still want to use this track for like good. That's a thing. It's a vibe. It's a little moodier, you know. It's a little moodier. It's a little clubbier, I guess. No drums yet, you know, all that stuff. You know, there's some interesting things in there, but ultimately, like, you know, those drums are not really like, it's not lifting up the song. Like it should be, I don't think, I mean, I like the verses, but that chorus, that hook, or the hook is not, it's not ascending, right? It doesn't give you the feeling of wanting to run away. And I was just in my head for a long time, not like stressing out, just trying different things. I wanted to kind of expand the room and the palette, as it were. Okay, let's do this. So this was where I was like, all right, 4 to the floor, but a little bit more like plasticky sounds. I was kind of really over the Lindrum and all the drum machines and vintage. And I was like, I want to do something, because I think that is something I'm always aware of, and it's why my drums, my kicks tend to not be quite as like woodsy to listen to. Try to, especially lately, I mean more so in the beginning, where I was, you know, Days of Thunder is a good example of just like, here's a Lindrum kit, you know, very Lindrummy kick drum and snare. And so this is a bit more like progressive, like slow progressive house, I guess, something like that.
You wanna ride?
Who cares? Let's see.
Looking for that feeling. Sun is going down. Stay. Looking for that feeling. Looking for that feeling. You wanna ride away.
it's all very contained, and I don't even want to listen to it anymore. Who cares? It's all very contained, and a lot of highs rolled off and all that stuff. But ultimately, it wasn't. Obviously, this wouldn't have been the final version, but it would need something on the kind of high frequency. Yeah. So, Mr. Lux Brown, Tim, what? That's how I roll, buddy. That's how I roll. Trying out things and failing most of the time. That is honestly production to me, is just finding out all the things that didn't work until you land on the things that do work. There's no shortcut, in my opinion. Anyway, so it didn't ascend the song. It didn't make the song kind of come to life. And ultimately, I kind of was like, who am I kidding? This is the sort of quintessential Runaway song. We should give the people what they want. I want it too. Why am I not letting myself have it? I want the rolling bass, the outrun feel. I kept, here's what I kept on seeing in my head was Outrun, that Outrun video game. That's the feeling, which is why the visual of the song on YouTube, the visual video, the visualizer, is a kind of our artist that we used for the artwork on most of this kind of rollout album. Like, we used David Legnon for a couple of things for Love Is an Ocean, the artwork, and Digital Dreams. Want to make sure I credit him; he's amazing. But Alex Hooker did the remaining artwork for that kind of, and the artwork for the album and the videos and all the content, and he's been absolutely amazing. And he, I threw out this idea of like, can we make it so that it feels like you're in that car, but you're instead of in the Outrun game, you're in this sort of dystopian landscape that we've created for this album, sort of future past, weird vibes. And he did an amazing job. So that's why it feels like that. And that's kind of what I wanted to convey. All right, let's get into the things. Let's mute the vocals for now, and let's just do the track and go through it. So let's start with... This is a remnant of the kind of rave thing I was going for. So I have cheering. You remember the KLFs and all the 90s stuff. KLF, They would have the doom, da, doom. They would have the crowd cheering. So combined, it's like the sort of announcement of the opening of the track. And so the track is this. We have this little thing. It's just a little sample I threw in Contact. It's kind of like an acidy sound. Again, a remnant from the rave days. Then there's this, a Serum pad. I think it's a 5th pad. Yeah, I think that's a 5th pad. So that's kind of a color. And then we have our bass, a nice Reese bass that I made myself following some random tutorial on YouTube. And then I tweaked it, and now I've actually just pulled it into Serum 2 and been messing with presets for the splice pack I'm doing, and building on it. And it will be in the splice pack, the Serum 2 version of this Reese bass that I made, which is the best one I've been able to come across and make, and kind of anyone else I've come across, any other Reese bass, it doesn't hit the same for me. So I'm happy with that. This is the same one. I've been using this a lot on the album. It's on Love Is an Ocean as well. It's just this nice high resonance, bass lead. And then I do a little bit of controlling on the low ends, because obviously this is filling that spectrum. So it's funny, I will listen. I listen to something and I look at it as a kind of top to bottom, 3-dimensional space in terms of frequencies. And so this is, this one is very much the high end of the spectrum, from mid to high, low end, obviously. So when you solo these, that's really great. There's room for them both, and they complement each other. But there's a little bit of something missing in the mid range, and that's where this one kind of fills that space. It really is a pad. But here, this sits right in the middle. So combine those three. And there's a little bit of like eeriness to this one. It's kind of like a little ghostly in a cool way. Let's pull in this one. And then we have the main synth, the Boys of Summer synth, if you will. And this was the one that I cracked the code. I talked, was that last week? I think we talked about Shadows, the Redux. I think that was a week ago, right? That I went through that. Where I kind of was like, it was the track that kind of got me to go, you know what? Synthwave is so fun. I love doing this, and I'm going to start doing this again and not care about, is this breaking new ground? I'm just going to have fun again with music. I kind of missed that. It was so in my head and not in my body and in my heart. And I think that's really important to remember. So this was the sort of key. I remember it was exactly a year ago, literally right after we played LA, played the Greek, and on a Friday, and then on a Monday, it was my birthday. And then the next day, I drove out to the desert, and I spent like 4 days in the desert with Nikki Flores, writing and just drinking a lot of good red wine and vibing. And we wrote some ideas that didn't make it onto this record, but are just like really solid ideas that you end up writing so much, and then it's like as the record takes shape, you kind of realize what the record is and what fits and complement each other. And obviously Tyler wasn't in that. He wasn't in with me in the desert. So often it's always best if we can be in the same room, because it sort of, informs the decisions we make. So I had a session with, or I had like a week or 5 days in the desert with Nikki, and we were just having the best time. It was great. And so that was a year ago. And before I left for the desert, I had just bounced this first version of what this track became. And I was like, I fucking cracked it. This is the vibe. And so that was this, that was the simplicity of that, like, and I was definitely going for the not Days of Thunder, Boys of Summer, but, playing around with the notes. So I'm not, copying something. I don't want to, like plagiarize. But it's that classic. I mean, a million other songs do it. Def Leppard, Hysteria, Sailing, Christopher Cross, it's right there. It's like embedded in the genre, I feel like. And I wanted to, like I talked about last time or a couple weeks ago, we wanted to make this the most maximalist album. And so I felt like the theme of this whole album is those notes, however you kind of sprinkle them across the album. But that was it. And so it just made me feel like this is it. So if we solo these and then add, let's solo these. And then I just have this little impact, which really is nice when it hits the one. Very subtle, but it gives like a little swoosh, like a whoomp in. And I have this little guy here. Just little EDM-y hits, but they work, and it blends really nicely. So all that sounds empty, but when you add this, suddenly it's like, oh, we're in a stadium. You have that, little subtle things, and I think that fades out a little bit. And then the Lost Boys synth. The reason I bounce it is that it has a pitch thing, which I think it's well, I don't think it's a glitch, but it's sort of I think it's modeling the original Juno. I think mine does the same, the original Juno that I have, the Juno 106. But this is the Rolling Clouds. So this is the same sound I used for Lost Boy, the and the wavy, strummy sound in Love is an Ocean is this sound. And so it's that and sent to a bunch of delay. So here it is dry. So you hear that, it kind of like whoop, whoop, whoop. And it doesn't do it on the second time. I don't know if this one does it. And then is this an octave? Okay, so yeah, it does this. It does that whoop, whoop, whoop on the very first time you hit that note when you open the plugin. But the second time you hit the note, it doesn't do it because it's like found the note. So what I do is I open the note, I get it all ready, and I bounce it with, hitting those notes for the first time, and it bounces it so I get it every time. So let's solo all this. Well, I guess we just play it. Oh, sorry. Let me solo this Lost Boy sound. So I bounce them dry, no effects, all that stuff, and then Echo Melt is what does the real heavy lifting here. I'm such a fan of Echo Melt lately on other stuff. I've had it for years. I mean, I used it on Lost Boy. So it's just so great, but it's got this, I mean, a lot of the settings are very crazo. So it's not, I think it's less about, I don't know why they make, it's all like insane pitch stuff. It's like, I don't know that I need that if I'm making music and not sound design, but to each his own. So I tend to just kind of play with this preset and then I kind of just move around. It's great. Give it that vintage patina, a little bit of EQ, a little bit of controlling, some sidechain, and sending it to a reverb or delay or whatever it's being sent to. Let me see what it's being sent to. That's the delay. So there's a lot of delaying going on because there's already delay in here. It's turned on in the echo inside the. It has a lot of that. But here's how it sounds. And then it's, it just goes straight into kick with just bass. And this is basically the kit from Love is an Ocean. I tried all kinds of other stuff, and I kept coming back to what wasn't broken. I was like, why am I trying to fix something that isn't broken? And this kick just is so punchy and present, and I'll play. We can go through the drum bus, but I don't have a lot on. Like, I don't have anything. This is a bounced kick from Love is an Ocean, so I wish I could. I think I went through that with Love is an Ocean. So it's just the bounce of the kick from Love is an Ocean, and then, I treat my drum bus. We'll get to that. Anyway, bass. So it's the same bass I've used on Love is an Ocean, a ton of tracks on this album, because I just found that like cocktail that felt right and felt new to me. So it's the... this one is actually a different low end bass. I've been using the Juno LX, the TAL Juno emulation, which is the sound I used for the bass in Lost Boy. So I've used that for a long time. I love it. And then I used on some of the other tracks, I would use this one as the top kind of plucky sound, layer it. But here's a different bass. It's Spire, some preset. And on its own, it sounds a little crazy, like not very controlled. I'm someone who likes tight, controlled basses, but when you add that pluck and some saturation, some EQ, some compression, some control, I wonder what this is. This is probably just low cutting the bass at some point. It comes together because all you do is sidechain that bass to the kick, and it's okay. It's okay that it's a little rumbly in the low end. So you can see the side chain is pretty aggressive. It's short. I like short side chains, but on this album, I really kind of made them pretty effective. So we got layers. This is Royce Little. I think I used it. He did these plucks for Love is an Ocean, and I kind of used them. I can't remember if it's the same key or if I pitched them. Can't remember, honestly, but really simple. I just kind of edited them, chopped them up and edited them, and made sure that, that they were in there because it's a nice little plucky thing. So, comes in here. So I really wanted to keep the verses kind of really sparse. You know, why not just bring in the vocal? I don't know why I'm doing it this way.
When the sun is going down, sinking to the ground, don't you get that feeling?
You know, I just kind of want to set that tone of like almost like that video gamey Outrun simplicity of the top line, and then it's not something I do a lot of. In general, I think the last time I really did it and not having other stuff was Lost Boy, probably in the first verse of Lost Boy, where it's just the bass and Tyler's vocal before it goes to the hold me till I'm not lonely anymore, all that stuff. So it just kind of feels nice and kind of sparse, but it leaves you somewhere to go. What is this? This is probably just the toms. Yeah. Tom fill. Okay, so the whole point being you keep it sparse, and then this comes in. I am obsessed with this pre-chorus. When Bonnie threw this out, and I, you know, she came up with this in the room, I was like, yeah, that's so tight. It's just, she's just the queen of those kind of tight pop melodies and the sort of syncopated, and she's huge on the phonetics as well, which I am as well. And yeah, this was really, in as far as the top lining, it was like me and Tyler letting Bonnie just do what she does best, because it was like, why get in the way of greatness? So I love when this comes in. Let's say we mute these guys. I tried so many different synths for this one, and ultimately chose this one here. Very simple. It doesn't even... I had it open and closed the filter, but I ended up not. I was like, no, it's too much. It should be like Boys of Summer, where it just is. It is or it is not. There shouldn't be any of this bullshit. You know, it's like, yeah, you can do it, but, you know... That's cool. But because I tried this in Tyler's verse, and ultimately I was like, it's a little more confident. There's so many layers of things coming in and out, and it's a bit more confident having it be there when it is, and when it's not, it's just not. It's not like a filter or subtle, or because there's other stuff going on. So let's bring in this bass again. We have these little sprinkles. I thought about this a lot. Okay, so there's a little space in the... This is kind of how my brain works. There's a space in the top line. Let's do this here. Right here. Nothing going on. Nothing going on. Nothing going on. There you go. Space. So for me, instantly, I'm like, okay, we need something for the momentum to not die. It's a fine balance. I want to keep the listener entertained, but I also don't want to clutter the track. And so I tried little like, you know, little themes, and that can get a little cute sometimes. But ultimately, I wanted the reason I didn't add a real... So what's here is this. Nothing. I just wanted a little magical sprinkle. And the reason I didn't want to do a melody or a thing was that I wanted to hammer home that this is the thing. This is what I want your brain to pick up on. So it's almost like I'm giving the brain a little space to kind of process all the sounds that are being introduced. And if I'm introducing a new melody around here after the pre-melody, it kind of takes away from all the other stuff that's going on. She's singing, it's a very busy top line, very like wordy melody. So right here, here, there's nothing else to kind of call attention to itself, so you can just hear the bow down, no, 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 and it's sort of it gets you in that kind of wavy frame of mind, I feel like. And so, you know, it just felt like I was giving a little bit more space to the track. I actually forgot I added these. I guess they're just like pre and some choruses. So this is the same Lost Boys synth. I guess I used it twice, but the reason I could do that is that you will see that they're not playing up here. Now, I probably am using them both in the chorus, I would imagine. So here it is in the chorus. And wait a minute, am I tripping? I love it when a plan comes together. Look at this. I'm not. See? I'm not. I'm that guy. So these are never playing in the choruses. They're only playing as like in-betweens type of thing and at the end. Because it was too much. They take up a lot. Like, this is a lot. Long tails and kind of a lot of rip, 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 and like a lot of mid-range. Sort of kind of conflicts with the vocals. So I am not using them. Anytime there's vocals, I'm not using those. It's more of a theme, like you can hear. So here's more like in the same way I use them in Love is an Ocean. Let's mute the vocals so we can hear how it kind of sits together. So their colors, let me turn this up a bit. I just wanted to feel like a vacation for your ears, you know? I wanted to feel like you're driving through the Outrun landscape, the pixelated palm trees and, you know, those kind of pop-up graphics, because the RAM was loading the visuals and it could only load a certain amount. You know what I'm talking about, those, you know, older guys, older people in the chat. And I want it to feel like you could dream yourself away to this place. And this is the track on the album that's sort of the escapist fantasy. Shadowverse is all, you know, I'll let Tyler talk about the kind of lyrics and the themes, but it's the darker theme, and it's like it's heavy, and it's all about like making out alive and multiple realities. And this is one of the realities where, like, well, if the world is ending, what reality do you want to escape to? I want to escape to this one. You know? It's San Junipero. That's what it is. If you know, you know. Black Mirror, San Junipero. Watch it if you haven't. Amazing. So, that's it for that. Just drum stuff. And then it just drops off. Yeah. So here we have lots of space, and this is, you know, once again, we got Nest Acoustics up in this biatch. Sorry for my language. That came out really aggressive. Nest Acoustics for the win once again. You know, little like textures. I think I may have put, I feel like I put a little down, but maybe that is just his. Maybe I added this one. Yeah. That's my little sizzly synth. So he's just so good at finding those spaces. And I think I had the do do do, and I had him send me a layer that would work over this guy. So it's a texture, as you can hear. And it just adds this life and this depth and this kind of, it makes it feel less machiney, less, automatic, I guess, more human, more organic. And that's what he's so good at. Okay. Yeah, and then it comes in again, it's like spacious, and then the Boys of Summer synth comes back in. Oh, and I had him make this melody. It goes do 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 do, something like that. Here on the turnaround. There's just such there's such a nice momentum in the you just kind of want to hear it over and over again. And then it goes back to this little thing, a break. So this is the one where I tried filtering out this. I'll play it for you now. I tried playing around with all this stuff. Oh, here it is. It's already there. Oh, why is that? Doesn't matter. Okay, so this is... actually, never mind. So I had it do this. It just became too much. It's like, what's the point? And it's nice, but when you add the vocal and like, I kind of wanted to make sure that we heard that you hear these plucks. Which is a similar plucks to what I was using in Digital Dreams. Similar thing. It might be the same, and I just messed with Dirty Vapor. It's something like that. Same pluck, and just kind of I've been putting this guy on everything. It's so fun. So I kind of wanted that to be the focus. I wanted the drive, and then adding back in the Boys of Summer synth, or the drone, or whatever, the synthwave drone, the outrun synth, in that pre, so we keep it tight in the verses. Because it kind of like, once you add this, it becomes more wavy and maybe slightly less urgent. This adds some urgency. And just see, now you should feel them more than you should hear them, but they're waves essentially. So let me play this back for you. Okay. So if you mute them, maybe you'll notice that they're gone. You hear that? It's a little bit more like, a little less three-dimensional. It feels a little bit more two-dimensional, a little bit flatter. Bringing in these. It's just a really nice texture. So I just love these keys, man. It's like instant vibe. All right. Okay, chorus. This is the synth I've been using a lot. Sorry, it's massive, or it's small because I've been using it for track breakdowns. There we go. This analog poly, honestly, it's just like my go-to. Oh, it's monophonic. Hang on. Quickly just do this. What? What am I doing? Is this it? Monophonic 16? That's fine. Really nice texture, and bring it back to how it was. Boom. And then with echo melt, a little bit of EQ. That's the drum. I mean, that's so plain. And the reason I'm making monophonic is there's so much delay going on. There's delay in here. I guess it's just this delay, but it kind of, having the notes kind of hang over each other made it feel a little too messy. So just because you got so much delay stuff going on, so you don't need it being polyphonic. What am I doing here? Yeah, just EQing out a bunch of frequencies, and this one is following probably, or maybe not. It's just staying there. Great EQ, expensive EQ, but really effective. It's $200, so it is not cheap, but it does what it says, and it's for the most part really good. It follows the frequencies. If you have a bass note or a guitar or a vocal that keeps moving, you can lock it onto whatever. It's not even the frequency; it's the key. So you can see like F, F sharp 4. Like it'll find that exact spot and kind of boost it or bring it down or whatever. So you can really get proper control that isn't just multiband compression or multiband EQ. So I love to use it in pinch when I'm really having to clean up stuff. And so second, let me see, there's this sound that we went through, and he sent me this, Ben sent me this from, Nest Acoustics. His name is Ben. He sent me this. I was like, give me something that can kind of just like sit on everything. And he sent me this beautiful, like trancey, I think it's this one. So if we solo all this stuff, it's just such a pleasure to listen to. Let's do all this stuff. And then this on top. It just makes it all feel like big and euphoric and beautiful and, a little bit trancey. Even though it's a way slower tempo, we're in 105 BPM, so definitely not trance territory. But that's what I've been enjoying lately, is kind of making slow house music. I guess it is. I call this future wave. I don't know. I'm kind of moving into a space where I feel like I'm less worried about the rules of synthwave, or kind of what makes something synthwave versus not, or whatever. And I am kind of not so much trying to emulate sounds that came out in that era. I'm using them as a starting point or inspiration, and I'm really enjoying like throwing distortion on stuff and just kind of destroying sounds a bit, and kind of making it feel degraded, but still deep and rich and fat and oomphy. And so I don't know. Love is an Ocean, for me, feels like a genre I would call future wave. That's what it is. It's not future bass. It's not retro wave. It's not synth wave. I mean, it is. If you call it that, and it is. It's totally fine with me. I don't care. But I like to place it in this space where it could kind of be anything. And it's just a new genre. And it's just like, that's what I call it. So future wave it is for now. What else do we need to go through besides vocals and sax? Maybe it's time for vocals and sax, guys. Is it time? Is it time? Let's talk about the vocals first, and we can get to the sax. So, Bonnie, the Beast. Let's do this. Sends me this. Super tight. I don't think. Oh, muted.
And the sun is going down, sinking to the ground. Don't you get that feeling? Yeah.
I've been using this distress on everything, and it's just the best. It just sounds the best.
And the sun is going down.
Got some heavy, not heavy, but I've got that like red distortion on it. Kind of adds a nice color and saturation on it. It's saturation, it's not distortion.
And the sun is going down.
It's just like a nice presence.
Sinking to the ground. Don't you get
But you can hear there's a little bit of kind of like that high mid. And this is probably where I use this. So maybe it's moving here. I don't know.
And the
Yeah,
sun is going down.
great example.
Sinking to the
Like that's the only band I'm using. I'm not over EQing anything. I'm just using this.
And the sun is going down.
See, it just follows
Sinking
it.
to the
It's great.
ground. Don't you get that feeling? Yeah.
And Saturn, some saturation. This is bypassed.
And the sun is going down, sinking to the ground. Don't you get that feeling?
So I've been playing around with this, adding gentle saturation to a lead vocal and blending it in, and kind of, either blending it in or just having it on max, but very subtly, just to, contain some of the dynamic range, or some of the peaks, I should say. Not dynamic range so much, but the peaks a little bit. The range, doesn't do huge things to the range. I'm not like using it as a compressor, but it does control it a bit. And then if you use it right, you can kind of place it in the mix really nicely with some mid-range. And then you can see I'm actually rolling off both highs and lows.
And the sun is going down.
There was some sibilance in the top and the high end that I didn't love.
And the sun is going down.
Those S's, how the mic is picking up Bonnie's S's, so rolling the highs off a little bit.
And the sun is going down.
All this stuff. Like we don't need that,
And the sun is going down.
And it's being sent to this reverb. I think both Tyler and her are sending to this reverb and this delay. Valhalla duck-in delay. I think it's the tape. This is one I always use. This is BB Duck, but I love the ducking feature, and I don't know why, but this and duct tape seems to be the only one that has it. I mean, this one, I'm not trying to pitch my delays because that just sounds shitty. Maybe I'm not using it right, but this is the cocktail. This is the channel strip, and then probably just scaled down versions of that. Similar things going on. So we have. Let's get to this pre.
Baby, we've been living like there's something to find, but maybe we can take it to the end.
And Bonnie just, she sends me final, like they're just like dialed, they're melodyne, they're just vocaline, they're tight as F, I had her do this harmony, and she was like, "Are you sure I could do this one that's a little cleaner?" And I think her pop ears were drawn to that one. I was like, I kind of like this one. It's a little. The first note clashes a little bit. It's kind of not clashing, but it's sort of a little bit of tension there. But that's what I like.
Baby, we've been living like there's something to find, but
Because the main lead goes, baby, and the main harmony goes, baby. So it's baby. That's the two semitones right there. But that's the shit I like,
Baby, we've been living like there's something to find, but maybe we can take it to the end of the line and see. So if I get a ticket, would you take it to ride? We'll hit the city limits and we'll leave it behind. Be free. Looking for that feeling. Baby, we've been living like there's something to find.
And Tyler's not in yet. He comes in after the verse and then he's in the chorus. So obviously this is not a Tyler heavy song in the sense, but he was definitely as much a part of the creation of the song. You know, this wasn't just us bypassing Tyler. But Tyler, being a fan of Bonnie for many years, was like, Bonnie needs to, you know, she needs to drive this car. And so he was very gracious in giving her so much space. And it's, you know, it's just a pleasure working with the both of them. Let's see, what was I doing? I was playing this and I wanted to play it with some chords. Let's do this.
Baby, we've been living like there's something to find. But baby, we can take it to the end of the line and see. Baby, we've been living like there's something to find. But baby, we can take it to the end of the line and see.
Listen to those dreams, bro.
Baby, we've been living like there's something to find. But baby, we can take it to the
No, Tyler, correct, Greg. Tyler is not a selfish artist. Like, what about me? What am I doing? He's so funny if I'm like, what if we threw your vocal through this vocal? He's like, yeah, do it, fuck it up, get it weird. He is the first to kind of want to go in the deep end. He does not care. He's completely fearless. And that just makes it so fun because you can throw anything at him. He's like, well, fucking try it. You never know.
Baby, we've been living like there's something to find. But baby, we can take it to the end of the line.
Dreams. And then let's get to the second pre where we got Tyler. Let's do the verse first.
Sun is going down over this town. Don't you get that feeling? Yeah. Gotta get away. 'Cause baby,
And this mic we've been using, I always forget which one it is. Who cares? You guys, you knew what it was last time. I forget. I'm so bad at this stuff. Distressa.
sun is going.
Let's do this, yeah.
Sun is going down over this town. Don't you get that feeling?
I'm really compressing him because I wanted to just be right there, sit right there.
Sun is going down over this town. Sun is
DSR.
going down over this town.
EQ, simple.
Sun is
A lot of like pulling out, you know, using either the spectral or the just regular frequencies, you know, compression, sort of multi-band compression within the Pro Q4
sun is going down
to control some of these
over this
frequencies.
town.
And then to sometimes round out and bring a little bit of body in and some presence. I like to use, I kind of had a period of a few years where I didn't use it. But I started using this more on vocals, sometimes on a snare or something, but like it is really good to just control. Like if you don't even want to like distort stuff. I think the one I always go to is the drums. There it is. This is drums Fatna 1, and then I just tweak stuff. And let's see what it sounds like without it.
Sun is going down over this town. Don't you get that feeling?
You hear that? It just feels a little hotter. It feels a little more like punchy.
Sun is going down over this town. Don't you get that feeling?
And you have a little bit of tone control. I'm not low cutting. I'm not using it as an EQ, but you can. And I'm probably rolling off just a little bit of highs. And this is my go-to for widening lately.
Sun is going down over this town.
It's honestly the one that sounds the best. I've tried all kinds of things. Chorus, you know, very tight reverbs, blah, blah, blah. I just like what this one does, and it sounds organic. It doesn't sound digital, you know.
Sun is going down over this town. Don't you get that feeling? Yeah.
And then I had him dub the pre. Let's play this.
Baby, we've been living like there's nothing to find. But maybe we can take it to the end of the line and see. So if I get a ticket, would you take it to ride? We'll hit the city limits and we'll leave it behind. Be free.
Okay, so pretty simple stuff, but we have a couple of harmonies on this one.
You wanna run away before the summer fades.
I normally never hit the boom with the kind of anything higher, but I really like that Bonnie did that, and I actually didn't even notice it till yesterday when I opened the session. I was like kind of getting an overview, and I was like, oh, that's really nice. This little harmony here, the note she ends on, leads right into the next chord.
You wanna run away. You wanna run away before the summer fades. You know it's not too late. California dreaming, looking for that feeling.
Try this.
You wanna run away before the summer fades. You know it's not too late. California dreaming, looking for that feeling. You wanna run away before the summer fades. You know it's not too late. California dreaming, looking for that feeling.
Yeah, she's a beast. She is a beast. And so is Tyler. And man, it's so fun when people are really good at what they do. It's really fun. Okay, so we get to the solo part. Let's get into it, guys. The bed, let's mute the sax for now. We'll get to it. Don't worry. I feel like maybe I didn't. Maybe I imagined that I threw in some thunder, but maybe I didn't. No, I probably didn't. That would have been cool if I did, though. There's another track then. Maybe it was another track I did on this album. I threw in thunder going into the guitar solo on Change Your Heart or Die. It has like a, going into the... Nothing like some dramatic weather effects for a track to kind of give it impact. I like to do the stuff like that. Okay, so this is the bed. It's just really dropping out the drums and the running bass and kind of creating space. So we're back to the intro, but because obviously this is the intro, right? But without the... So here we go. And we've got the crowd again, wherever that is here. And this was Tyler's idea. We were writing on some other stuff, and we were talking about Runaways, and he was like, "What about a sax battle? Like 2 saxophones?" I was like, "Get the fuck out! We can't do that. That's breaking the law. I think there are laws for this. We can't. We'd go straight to jail. Straight to jail." And he's like, "I don't care. I'm ready for this. I'm ready to take the punishment for breaking the law and using 2 saxophones and making a duel." And I was like, "You're crazy," and I love it. That was his idea, and then I threw out, what if we make it the sort of old guard versus the new guard? So Thomas, who hasn't played on some stuff for a couple of years, because we tour with Clunk now. We've been through many different saxophone players, and schedules change and all that stuff. So it's always a bit of a puzzle trying to, figure out who's available. And Thomas is all the way in Denmark, but Clunk is our kind of guy for touring, and it's way easier to use someone that's local. For Lover's Notion, that was Jacob Cesny that we used we toured with him back in 2019. Amazing, brilliant, gifted saxophone player as well, amazing musician. and because Clunk was on tour. But for this one, I was like, what about if we bring back Thomas, because he's in Denmark. So there's always it's always a bit more like, recording 9 hours ahead and doing it over FaceTime and sending takes and me editing. And so that's why it's just a bit more cumbersome. But for this one, I was like, what if we do this? So we have Thomas battle against Clunk. So they're just like dueling, and that's what we did. And it was so fun to bring back Thomas, and also really fun for me to hear the different tones. So I don't know anything about sax, but they're recorded on the same mic, which I think was important. It's recorded on the U67 Neumann, which is an incredible mic. It's also crazy expensive, but it's amazing. I think that's my favorite mic for alto sax, for this sort of David Sanborn type style, Lethal Weapon, the midnight, sultry, sexy, smooth. U67, boom, done. That's what you want. And that's what Thomas had. And luckily, when we recorded Thomas's parts, so this is the thing. It's not just getting them in the room together, because Thomas is on the other side of the world. So it was done separately. And Thomas was like, "How could you do this to me? I'm playing against no one." I'm like, I don't know what Clunk is gonna put down. So he was brave in taking the first plunge and kind of laying down a bunch of stuff for me and Clunk to kind of play off of. So that was very generous of him. And Clunk took it and really ran with it and was so good at kind of filling in different spaces. So I didn't have this all edited. I just kind of said, I know there are some takes that I like. I'm sticking to those. And then I'm using this as a placeholder and this as a placeholder. And then I'll maybe look what else there is. But I know we have to fill these kind of spaces. So it took a lot of editing, a lot of editing to get it totally right. But it's never not worth it. I always have a little bit of tuner on sax just because it just tightens it up, gives it that sweet spot for pop. I probably wouldn't do that if I was doing a jazz record or something maybe more organic feeling. If you're in sort of Springsteen territory and the E Street Band, like I would not put a tuner on that. It's just a different vibe. It's that kind of, Saturday Night Live kind of more funky riffy. This is smooth, sultry. So to me, it's like I need that just like a little tight. So funny. So I'll bypass these. So I didn't know anything about this, but Thomas has like a slightly more of a rounder sound. And this is not just because of the sax, like Clunk was explaining it to Justin, or was explaining it to me. And from what I understood, it's Thomas is a physically a bigger guy. So he's able to like literally blow more air through I think a smaller mouthpiece or something like to do with that. And therefore create around a sound with a bigger saxophone or something to do with this. And it's all to do with the size of the actual body blowing the air, which makes sense, but I had no idea. But you can hear the difference in their tones if we solo them. So, it's so funny to hear, and obviously this is just a dry. Let's put the goodness on it. So I got some compression, some EQ, simple stuff. Again, this bad boy, a little bit of, let's listen to it without it. With it. Just a little bit more, saturation. It just adds a little bit of presence and saturation to it, and controls it a little bit. Feels a little hotter, and some chorus. And when it's soloed, you hear those, like, you hear the body noises, the blowing. That disappears in the mix. And so I would say if you're ever like EQing, mixing sax, that stuff, hear those like lower undertones, that goes away. Don't worry about it. You don't need to sit and EQ that all out, because once the source is all on there, it doesn't really matter. So I have a Lexicon reverb on him. on both of them. Pretty short. It's not really long, but it's like it's okay. I could have made it a little wetter. When I listened to the final mix, because there's so much going on, I was like, oh, is it wet enough? But I think it works. There's some delay. I really like this one. I used it for Deep Blue. I used it for Jesse played on Deep Blue for the delay on that. I used it for Dance with Somebody. Thomas played on that, and I used this delay. It's a kind of this like weird little cheapo delay, and it's just really good. Kind of sits nicely in the mid range. Same with, I mean, there's no point. We can use the same, similar settings, different saxophones, but similar settings, similar sort of cocktail of things, but just with slightly different EQ and all that stuff, characteristics. Oh, gotta have the respace. So you can hear under the hood, I think I've got some filtering going on. I bring in this guy. I tried with this one, but it was too pointy and toppy. But I was trying to bring in some rolling bass, but without getting in the way of this guy, So I'm low cutting just for this spot. I'm low cutting using this filter that I've brought up many times, without it, but it's like some mid-range rolling, kind of subtle rolling bass. So let's solo the sax and the pads and stuff. This is what's going on. And I can't remember, but I feel like, I guess I didn't. I thought I kind of had a sidechain on the saxophone. This was purely, I guess I didn't, because it kind of sounds like that in the final mix when the kick comes in here. For some reason, I thought I had that. Maybe I'm tripping, but I kind of remember going, maybe I tried it and I was like, it's too much. But this was coincidence. I really love. So Thomas had this phrase. Which is, it was so funny recording him again. I was like, you have your phrase like do 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 do. That's like his signature, and I didn't even notice that. But like when I go back and listen to all the old Midnight stuff that he's playing on, like Crockett's Revenge, River of Darkness, and Vampires, there's always like, and I'm like, yeah, the signature. And kind of, so that one, kind of open, when the kick comes back in. And then Justin had done this. This is edited, but like, this line happened to just fit. This wasn't planned. It just was a take that fit over this harmony. And I was like, oh, because it was important for me to be clear, to make sure that I wanted to, if you're listening, I wanted you to be able to pick up the fact that this is a duet. And so the fact having them playing at the same time and not just responding to each other was important to kind of layer, to go, wait a minute, there's two saxophones. So he's doing this. Also, Clunk knows by now, if he plays ba-da, he knows he's got me, because that's my sweet spot right there. It's Collateral. It's all of the things, you know. And so it sounds like this. So you have like, you know, a fourth, what's it called? Like 5 semitones. Yeah, and they harmonize, they work. So here we go. So this phrase I loved. I knew I kept this. I knew I wanted this and this when I was editing the, like before we recorded Clunk. I was like, this reminds me, if we mute Clunk for a second, this reminds me, it's not sounding like anything, but it gives me the feeling of like, gives me a feeling of like a sports montage. You know, this, you know, and then Clunk's kind of, let me know if you can't hear me over the music, by the way. Yeah, someone says I hear some David Sanborn influence. That's like my that's like the one word I you know, one word. That's the name I give both, you know. I said in the very beginning 12 years ago to Thomas, I was like, I want, you know, like that kind of like, you know, like like the score. Have you ever listened to the score from Lethal Weapon? And he just goes, oh, you want Sanborn? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Is that Sanborn? I had heard about Sanborn. Like my dad, you know, talk about Sanborn, but I'm not like super familiar with his discography or anything like that. But he's like, oh, you want that Sanborn sound? And that is what he loves. And you know, same with Clunk. He gets the sort of, he has his whole smooth jazz side, so he gets what we're doing here, and it's just such a pleasure. But anyway, this makes it feel like a sports montage for some reason. And then the way Clunk responds to this, it's such a good, it feels like the same saxophone player, and it's a call and response. This is a response to that, this melody. Notice how they kind of play against each other. That's so good. Brilliant. And Justin is so good, or you know, was so good with this one at finding the holes, finding the little spots where he could compliment Thomas and bring something new and build upon what he done. I mean, he's got such a good ear, and he's such a generous. They're both very generous musicians, and so yeah, this was really fun. It took a long time for Clunk and I to kind of, because we wanted to get it right, but it was always worth it. And then this part gives me the feeling of this is where we get into the sports montage. I'm just going to mute Clunk's sax here. I don't know about that. That kind of step up is just so, it like builds on it, and then Clunk took it and ran with it, and it's like responding to him, and it's so fun. And Bonnie sent me a bunch of ad-libs. I didn't need to use them all, but she's, you know, such a good sport. She's just like sent me a bunch of stuff, and she's like, take it or, you know, she's not precious. Take it or leave it. Whatever you want to use, just, you know, use it if you like it. Not just chuck it. And I always like that way of, that's how I approach it too. It's like, you know, throw stuff at the wall, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You know, who cares? So I was trying to, a lot of the work in finishing this song was finding the spaces where her ad-libs fit. I mean, she was so good. I mean, I didn't really move them. I just kind of positioned them in the last chorus, but they were like placed where they fit. It was perfect. And then kind of trying to fit in the saxophone at the end. So it was trying to kind of complement everything. So if let's just play it from the end. Oh, and then I had to bring that pre back. You know, that classic kind of songwriting trick of bringing back the pre and making it the bridge almost, or bringing back the pre in the last chorus. It's very much the Max Martin thing to do, and I love. It's always effective. It's like a way of making the last chorus feel bigger and new, but it's with things you've heard before. So you're not introducing anything new for the brain to kind of wrap your head around. You're using things that you have introduced and that your brain's already familiar with, and you want to hear it again. So it's like bringing that. And so whenever there's an opportunity for me I did the same in Jason. Whenever there's with the keep on running, a lot of things like play against each other. Whenever there's the opportunity to have part of the chorus play on top of the bridge or the pre or something like that, it's such a delight for me. And I noticed when I was playing that pre-chorus, let's mute the chorus vocals. Which ones are these? This. Okay, so this is the pre. Here. Space. You know, as you can hear, there's space. So let's mute the vocals again. Or let's just solo these vocals with the synths. So kind of give you a sense of what I'm talking about.
Baby, we've been living like there's nothing to find, but maybe we can take it to the end of the line. For the summer fade. So if I get a ticket, would you take it to ride? We'll hit the city limits and we'll leave it behind. California dreaming, looking for that feeling. Baby, we've been living like there's nothing to find, but maybe we can take it to the end of the line and see.
For the summer fade. California dreaming. And it feels so seamless, but it just fit like a puzzle. The pre, when the summer fades, just call and response. So great. I love it all. And then Bonnie's ad-libs, and then the sax comes in. It's just peaking. That's basically it, ladies and gentlemen. And you can hear a lot of stuff going on here. You've got vocals, high-pitched ad-libs from Bonnie, and sax, and, you know, this guy coming back in, along with all this stuff here. So there's just so many moving parts, but it is always a joy when you like feel that it works. And that's always the challenge for me. That's basically it, you know, besides our like swoosh build effects and all that crap. But that's pretty, I don't know. I don't overthink that stuff. It's, you know, you could spend a month trying to reinvent the wheel and trying to make your own effects. I just pull stuff from Splice, honestly, and just, it's got to work. Little tip, I try to not, I add my transition effects as the very last thing, pretty much. Once I know the kind of the shape of the song, if you will, the sort of the rearrangement, not the rearrangement, the arrangement and the flow of it. And I want to make sure, like all the elements, I want to make sure I've got the right bass and what else is playing. And I don't want to start adding all kinds of stuff to make the impacts feel bigger before I know where it's going, like how it's got to sound, how the track has to sound. Simply for that reason, and I want it to not be kind of hanging my coat on impacts, effects, and builds and like hype stuff. That should be the icing on the cake. It shouldn't be the main thing. And so if you can make your different transitions work together without effects. I mean, let's try and mute. I always send my effects to an effects track, so I'll try and mute this. But let's talk about this quickly before we call it a night. Okay, verse. And then we bring in this. So I got all my effects muted right now. So you can hear that's a little bit more flat because you don't have the, you know, that kind of thing. But it should work without it. It should work as a fundamental arrangement. And if it feels like you're not in the chorus, you shouldn't need an impact to know that you're in the chorus. I kind of prefer it's the other way around. Not the other way around. That's a weird thing to say, but I sort of not hanging my coat on that, on fancy effects and kind of builds and rises and stuff. They're amazing once it's cooking and once it works. Okay, I have my my elements. Now I add this. Sorry, that was the wrong one. Let's do this. It kind of like is less fatiguing on the ear. I don't know. Maybe that's just basic stuff, but it's something I always try to. I just never, when I'm working on a track, I never add transitions. Very, very sparse stuff until the very end, where I'm like, okay, now I know what the thing is. I know all my elements work. I know the pad that's lifting up things in the chorus. I know the bass that comes in that makes it feel more impactful, and the drums are tight. It's like, so usually I can get away with using less can be more because the fundamental parts work better. The drums are right, all that stuff, because usually that could be a reason why something doesn't feel big enough or like impactful enough or whatever. That was the breakdown for our song Runaways that came out today. It's been so fun to see the amazing feedback from you guys, how you've connected. So amazing to see how you connected with Summer's Ending Soon, honestly. That one's really seems to have connected on an emotional level, and it's amazing to see. We love that song. I mean, we're so proud of this whole album. But Runaways was the one that I was particularly looking forward to share with you guys and have show you what we did with Bonnie and how how she just brought it. And yeah, such a pleasure. And so happy with how it turned out. I'm really happy with the way, you know, there's always little things, but so happy with the sort of, this became what I wanted, what I saw that I felt like it could be. But it took such a long time to get here, and kind of like, like on a spiritual level, sort of allowing yourself to just like do what you do best and not overthinking it, and not feel like you have to change and reinvent the wheel every time you do something, because it's really not about that. It's just about that in your brain when you're the one creating stuff, and you feel like everything you do sounds the same, and you're like, ugh. You know, you get tired of your own sound sometimes. And so it's a very, it's a fine line to walk, but I'm really happy I trusted myself with this, and that Tyler and Bonnie trusted me to kind of like bring us home, as it were. You done good. Thank you, 80s Arcade Kid. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. I'm going to take my little dog Yogi for a walk now, and I will see you in a week. And we will crack open maybe another track. I don't know. Maybe I have no tracks to crack open before the album comes out. We'll see. If not, then we'll have a great hang. Love you all. Take care of each other and take care of yourselves. Bye.